Alright, patch dropped yesterday, if you didn't see it. Season 10 tier list. This patch is the worst shit we've ever seen in Overwatch 2, in my opinion. Very few changes that should change the meta up drastically. There's really none of the pain points that I have and a lot of other people have in the game right now are addressed. But I think the main issue with this patch is really just that it's gonna feel the same. We're getting like literally two changes for DPS. A, Tracer, which has been the best DPS in the game by far on high level and also low level, right? She's getting a nerf to her recall. I think it's not enough to make her not the best DPS in the game. So before I even tell you what the changes are, Tracer is still easily the best DPS in the game, assuming you play her well, okay? So recall cooldown got increased from 12 to 13 seconds, so that's 1 second more cooldown, which means she has to play a tiny bit slower before she can recall again. And the pulse bomb base projectile size got decreased from 0.2 to 0.1 meters. So the total projectile size is now 0.25 meters instead of 0.35 meters, which means it's a bit harder to hit the pulse bomb again, because the pulse bomb got like benefited from the buff that every character got last season, like the projectile size changes. And this matters against Brig. Like if you stuck a Brig shield and the Brig tried to drop the shield to make the pulse bomb fall to the floor, the pulse bomb would be so big they would auto lock onto the Brig. So now, like, you know, that's a Brig buff actually. And the other change for DPS, which I guess we can get into right now, is Sombra. The total damage over time on Virus got reduced from 100 to 90, which is like a tiny nerf. It's not gonna do anything. And funnily enough, Sombra will be even better than she is this season, because Ball is gonna be a meta, but we'll get into that in a bit. But I'll actually put Sombra in S tier, no cap. Yeah, so Reaper is back to being completely useless. Again, I mean, only playable really on like certain maps against very specific comps. Like he can work against a monkey, depending on, like, even against a monkey there's better options. Reaper is just not great. Okay, they did say Reaper is gonna get a rework eventually, not this season, maybe mid-season. Widow is easily still a great character on maps where you have long sightlines. Widow is OP. He's a situational pick. But I'm gonna still put a high A tier, because on the maps where Widow is good, like Dorado first point defense, Junkyard Town, Circuit Royale, you know that shit. You know the drill by now. Nothing changed, right? Widow is still insane on those maps. I think Pharah is low-key. OP, but Pharah still needs a Mercy to get her most value. And because Mercy is weak right now, she didn't get changes. I think because Mercy is weak, Pharah is weak. But I don't think she's that weak. Pharah got buffed. Pharah, with the rework, with the dash, with the hitbox size increase, with the rocket damage increase, with the speed increase, the rocket shoots faster since Season 9. She's harder to play a bit, but she's better overall in neutral game. I see more Pharahs that can play without a Mercy. But she's still a character that is somewhat reliant on Mercy. Yeah, B tier is fair, actually. The issue with Mercy is that they didn't change her healing numbers since the last patch, right? And they added the DPS passive, right? The DPS passive reduces the healing that someone receives when they take damage from a DPS, okay? The Mercy wants to kind of heal and then start damage boosting, right? The main value Mercy gets is damage boost. But because Mercy has to heal bot more, because she just can't out-heal the DPS damage, she cannot damage boost as much, which makes her really shit. That's why Mercy is weak. I think Mercy, unironically, needs a healing buff. She needs like 5 or 10 more HP per second on her healing. Which is funny, there's a Mercy mythic coming out this season. I surely thought they're gonna make Mercy OP, so people buy the battle pass, but I guess not. Mercy is doo-doo tier, like she's weak on high rank. Reinhardt got a buff to his ult, Earthshatter. The time you're on the floor is 3 seconds now instead of 2.75 seconds. And the shockwave range got increased, which means it travels further. You can shatter enemies that are a bit more back, which is gonna make Rein overall a bit better. But the issue with Rein is that he's just a shit character overall. He just doesn't function in 5v5, and while I don't support Sumito's 5 versus 5 versus 6 versus 6 debate, I do think Reinhardt has been struggling the most out of the original Overwatch characters in a 5 versus 5 format, because he simply has to get in to get value, and he's a character that usually relied on the Zarya bubbles and shit. Every other character can do both at once. Even Ramatra, you can put the shield down, go Nemesis, and even if you have to block, you can block, punch, right? You can use the combo. Rein can't do that. He's just bad. Doo-doo. Venture is kind of like Overwatch 1 Doomfist. If you have not played Overwatch 1 Doomfist in Overwatch 1 used to be a DPS character. He would run in get a kill, and then most likely die. He was like a suicide bomb that would trade 1-for-1 at best. And Venture has to get really close to get value, right? Venture has very low range on their left click. Venture, all the combos you get with killing are close range, right? The melee that does more damage is close range. The dash, you have to dash in to deal damage, right? Yeah, you can escape with the dash. Venture usually has to commit to get the kills. The thing with the burrow is, before Venture came out, before we playtested Venture, it seemed like the burrow is going to be the defensive ability, where you burrow and then run away. But burrow has such a long cast time until you're in the ground, that in most games, if you use it to get out, you will die. Like, the enemy will kill you before you get into the ground. The way Venture will be played on high rank is going to be burrowing to initiate, and then either hard committing with a drill or dashing out, right? So poking, and then if you can get, you need to hard commit. So overall, it's still the exact same numbers for both the dash and the melee, but they will take longer until the damage over time is increased and the upfront damage is decreased, which is a nerf, a hard nerf, actually. I think Venture is just going to be niche at best in high ranks. I think Venture can work well with the new Ball. Ball is getting a rework, but I don't see Venture being a great character. I can put them lower B, because I do think if you play them correctly, you can still trade 1-for-1. If you want to win games, trading 1-for-1 is not viable. And a lot of the time you will end up trading 1-for-1. Torp got no changes. Torp is like free value. You put down the turret, you spam, and you don't have to do anything. Yeah, they're a solid character, especially on some maps on defense. Hanzo is pretty weak. Hanzo still doesn't have his one-shot back, and don't get me wrong, I don't want Hanzo one-shot back ever, but Hanzo is kind of in this limbo where now you have to hit 2 arrows at least, and if you headshot, a lot of the time the enemy gets away, so he just doesn't have a place. I know Winston is seeing play in Overwatch CS, but Winston is not a must-pick in Overwatch CS. I think Winston is still good though. I think he's easily A tier. I think now Ball is just a better dive character than Winston. Zenyatta is niche at best. He was really OP at the start of the season, but then he got hard nerfed, right? They reduced his kick, and now he's just kind of back to being a punching bag. He's just not as good as the meta supports in the game right now. And again, he's not getting changes at all. He's also very weak against Tracer, and as long as Tracer is meta, Zenyatta will get bullied. I will rate Zenyatta C tier. This is, now that I think about it right now so far, I think this is not like a super controversial list other than Sombra and S tier. If Ball is not meta, I'm going to be wrong, but I think Ball is going to be meta. Okay, Bastion is solid pick on low ranks. On high ranks, he falls off really quick because he's immobile and an easy target to hit. He's just a fat DPS. Good teams will force out the turret and then commit and kill him, right? That's how you deal with Bastion. A lot of people come into my chat and they're like, I died to Bastion in Plat, what do I do? Which I guess brings me to Soldier. I almost want to put him C tier, but I'm biased because I'm a Soldier main. Soldier is like the easiest character to kill in the game. I've realized this season. So unless you have impeccable positioning, impeccable tracking, and you get healed by your team, you die on Soldier. If you get Doven by a Tracer, you die. Before, it was an even scenario where a Soldier could rocket melee to get the kill. So it was a game of the Tracer forcing out the rocket, and then if the Soldier missed the rocket, the Tracer would win. But now I can't even kill the Tracer with the rocket melee. So now the Tracer just shoots me down until I'm kind of low HP. I'm probably not going to have Healing Pad because it's an 18-second cooldown. Healing Pad is affected by the DPS passive. It is harder to aim with Soldier right now than it is with Cassidy, Ashe, Illari, all the other hit scans. For no reason, in my opinion. I think he's low B tier at best. And the only reason I'm not going to put him C or Dudu tier is because I think he's an OP. Soldier is an OP character in low ranks. If you play Soldier in Bronze, Silver, Gold, and even Plat, people don't know how to position. They're in the open, and you get free value by shooting, damage over time, right? In high ranks, people take cover. Soldier cannot shoulder peek, because he has to consistently look at you to shoot. And that's the issue with Soldier. I think the only way to fix Soldier in Overwatch is to rework the ult, remove auto-aim from Visor, make Visor do more damage, so high-level players will still get value out of it, and lower-level players will not get free value out of it. I'm gonna put Symmetra in niche B. Lijiang Night Market, she's still really good and she can be played really well on those maps. But then on other maps, she doesn't do anything. In certain comms, you can play her. You can do funny strats with Rhine, Sim, and TP behind them and shit. She has niche case scenarios, but overall, she's not a character you can pick at all. Zarya is weak. The thing is, tank meta right now is counter picks. Certain tanks counter other certain tanks, and Zarya is not great at countering anything. There's a better tank for almost every situation, right? On long range poke maps, you want Sigma. On short range maps where you want to rush, there's Orisa and Ramatra and now Junker Queen. If you want to dive, Zarya is obviously not a dive character. She's just not a master at anything. Cassidy is easy A tier. I almost want to put him S tier. The difference between Cassidy and Soldier is he has more burst damage, which is better. He has more HP, which is better. He can shut down targets that dive him with the sticky, right? You can stick a tracer, hinder them, kill them. Same for Sombra. Or a tank, right? And he can roll, which is 80% damage reduction. If someone is going to burst you, you can roll out. You can roll out of a sticky, of a tracer pulse bomb and live. Cassidy is easy A tier. He's really, really, really good if you play him correctly. Lucio got slight changes. They made the Soundwave do 10 more damage, from 35 to 45, but they reduced the left click damage from 20 to 18. Nets you like a 0 almost. That means long range spam Lucio is going to be a bit weaker, but if you engage, the burst is going to be higher. 10 more damage on the Soundwave, 2 less damage per bullet unless you hit 4 headshots with the left click. That means Lucio does about the same damage. Beat is one of the best defensive ults in the game because it like literally stops people from dying instantly. Unlike Trance, by the way. I mean, Trance is also really good, but it doesn't give the overhealth. Lucio works in Rush and in Dive. He's OP. Roadhog is garbage. No changes to Roadhog. Roadhog is the only tank in the game that has no abilities to protect the team. Unironically. Other than existing and sitting in front of them. Junkrat, CT. I mean, Junkrat also doesn't have the one-shot anymore. I almost want to put him in Dudu as well. D.Va is great. Yeah, D.Va is a solid dive tank. D.Va was meta at the start of the season, I thought, right? Like, D.Va was being played at the start of season. Now she's being played less because, again, they shifted more power to ground tanks on the last patch where Orisa came back into meta and shit. She's like high B tier. Mei, situational pick. Great with Rush. She can work in certain comps really well. Like, if you wall off like a tank like Junker Queen, you can punish, right? Like Mei is like a death ball character that can work really well on certain maps. So I'm not going to rate her lower than B tier. Genji is really good. Genji players always complain that the hero is weak, but I think this is the best state Genji has ever been in. I almost want to put him in A tier. His blade still doesn't kill shit, but his neutral game is really good now with the projectile size increases. Ana is weak. And again, Ana didn't get changes at all. Ana is weak. The meta right now revolves around AoE healing and having abilities that can stop your team from dying. Anti does not provide as much value anymore ever since the DPS passive came in, because it does the same thing. Anti stops people from healing. I know DPS passive is only 15%, and Anti is 100%, but with the HP increase to everyone, usually you end up living. If you play safe position and you get Anti, you can live by sitting behind the corner. And Ana is like a single target pocket healer, and the team requires so much healing in the current meta. AoE healing, Lucio, Kiriko, Moira, right? That Ana is just not good. Okay, again, this patch, Orisa, no changes. Last patch, to refresh your memory, she did get a buff to her ult. The ult is more reliable, charges up faster, does more damage. She's an unkillable tank, doesn't require any brain cells to play, especially on low ranks. Not really much you can do wrong on Orisa. You sit in front of your team, you run into the enemy, and you kill them. Here comes hot take, hot take, hot take, hot take. This hot take. Okay, I'm gonna put him A tier. The thing is, Doom is the hardest tank to play in the game, okay? Doomfist players, I'm not saying your tank is easy to play, but if you play Doom correctly, he's so good. The rocket punch, the empowered punch, is no longer consumed when the windup is cancelled by using seismic slam or power block. Okay, so that's a quality of life change. I think it's a good buff. I don't know why we're buffing Doomfist. That was one of the ways you can kinda counter Doom, right? Even if he has charge punch, you can like force him out and then he would lose his charge punch and you would have space to move in. But now you can't do that anymore. I think it's a significant buff. Again, this is supposed to be a tier list for all ranks, and I think on low ranks, Doom is pretty weak. Okay, and that's why I'm not gonna rate him S tier. Because I think unless you're a really, really good player on Doom, you're not getting enough value out of him. But if you're really good on Doom, he's S tier. Moira did get a nerf, and this is like actually the most significant change in this patch, in my opinion. Right click, biotic grasp, damage got decreased from 65 to 60 per second, which is gonna make it so in 1v1s, you can stay in the fight against her a bit longer, okay? But the coalescence self-healing got increased, so in ult, she heals 55 instead of 50. I think the nerf hits harder, which I think Moira is going to be played a tiny bit less. But the reason people are playing Moira right now, and the reason Moira was all over the meta, is because she has the best AoE healing in the game with her healing orb, right? She cannot, if she plays properly, she should never die, because you cannot miss. You can use the Biotic Grasp to 1v1 someone while healing yourself. I'm gonna put Moira as still in S tier, actually. So I talked to Maze to the face yesterday, and he thinks Brick is gonna be better. Brick can drop the nade when she gets stuck on her shield. Yeah, I don't think she's gonna be that good, because I think Lucio is just better for providing value. I'll put a B tier. I don't know. Okay, so here, hottest take of the season. Wrecking Ball will be hard meta. What they did to Wrecking Ball is it's a soft rework. The big change is if you use your adaptive shields, your E ability, the ability that gives you overshield depending on how many enemy heroes are around you, you can press that button again. It will redistribute up to 300 of your overhealth to your nearby allies. What that means is you can roll in with Ball, slam and get your overhealth, and then your Tracer jumps in behind you, and your Sombra ideally, and your Lucio, and you press E again, and suddenly Tracer has 250 HP. And suddenly Sombra has 325 HP. How are you gonna kill them? Right now, I'm not saying Ball was good before this season, but right now, there's so many situations where Ball goes in, slams, gets 5 million overshield, and then everyone stops shooting him because there's no way you can kill him, right? Like Ball with 1000 HP, you're not gonna kill him, right? The only way you burst Ball down is if he's feeding 1 versus 5. But now, he can use that overhealth and give it to his team. Ball is still not gonna die if he plays properly. How are you gonna deal with a Tracer with 250 HP? How are you gonna kill a Sombra or Lucio with 325 HP? It sounds really, really fucking broken on paper. And now we're coming back to why Sombra I think is an S tier. Because I think Sombra is one of the few hard counters to Ball. And with Ball, because you can also still dive in with him. So I think Sombra is gonna be S tier and meta, because Ball is gonna be meta. I think Cass is actually good against this. Which is why I still put him 8 tier. Cass is actually like one of the few characters that can hinder Ball and hinder Tracer and hinder Sombra and get value out of that. And he's probably one of the few characters that can survive the pile drive Tracer combo. And I guess this is my second hot take. I think Sojourn, while she's still like the second most broken character on her own, other than Tracer DPS wise, I think is not going to be as good in this meta. I don't think she's still an amazing character, don't get me wrong, man. There's no changes. Sojourn is like still so OP. Yeah, we're putting Sojourn in A. Ashe, mid at best. Baptiste, not as good as Moira, Lucio, and Kiriko. Mid. Playable. Don't get me wrong, Immortality is an OP ability. Sigma is niche OP. Sigma is always like an S tier character, and I almost want to put him in S again. Sigma is like a niche OP. I think he's gonna get shit on by the Ball comps, if I'm correct. Then again, you still have to play him on Havana. You still have to play him on circuit, right? On poke maps, long range poke maps, he's still OP. Echo is really good. Echo is easily a tier character. Not a lot of thoughts. Again, no changes. Fucking boring. Junker Queen got a buff to Carnage, her ult. The impact damage got increased from 90 to 105. Big buff. A tier. Good in rush. But it's just an ult change. Kiriko OP. It's Kiriko. You know my take on Kiriko. Probably better than Moira now with the Moira nerfs. Again, Kiriko, no changes. Ram is so shit. I don't know what he is smoking, but Ram is still a very solid character. In fact, I almost want to put him A tier. Like, Ram before the patch was probably better than Junker Queen. They buffed Lifeweaver, and I posted on Twitter, and I'm getting shit for it. I don't think Lifeweaver should ever be meta. Lifeweaver is the most boring character in the game. There's no interaction with Lifeweaver, and they made it even worse. So, the dash that you have that healed you for 50, now heals you for 60. Which means Lifeweaver will never ever die. There's no reason to ever dive a Lifeweaver. He just doesn't interact with you. Lifeweaver sits behind his team and heals and can never die. He also can't provide any utility other than healing to his team, but he's so fucking boring. Even now, I don't think he's gonna be meta. Like Lucio and Kiriko and Moira provide utility and couldn't go fast with the team while Lifeweaver can't. He just doesn't suit in the meta. As soon as we get into a meta where it's like standoff healing against healing, it's gonna be the most boring shit ever. The devs are trying to make every character viable. It's not possible in a game like Overwatch. Some characters will be shit. Instead of realizing that, the devs are too stupid and they keep on buffing characters that are already really good on paper, like Illari, by the way. Illari is really good on paper. She just didn't see a lot of play until now because Lucio and Kiri and Moira functioned better in the meta. But she's still not gonna see a lot of play because, again, the meta support characters do even more because they're even more broken. So they changed Illari's rifle recovery time from 0.2 to 0.25, so she shoots a tiny bit slower, but in return she heals more. She heals 115 per second instead of 105 with her primary healing. Nothing is going to change with her. She's still going to be niche because she's not going to sit in the meta, but as soon as we get a meta where it's poke, she's going to be OP. In League and Dota, a lot of characters are so niche, they're almost never played, only as counters, and some characters are completely useless. And that's fine. You cannot make every character viable. The reason, in my opinion, Season 9 was so fun at the start of the season is because all the fun characters were meta. You had Dive, you had Diva, you had Monkey, you had Tracer, you had Cassidy, you had Soldier, right? You had Lucio. I love those metas. I love metas where everything moves fast, and Dive and Flyers are meta, right? Not Flyers in sense of Pharah or Echo, but Dive tanks. And that game was amazing. The balance devs have no clue how to fucking balance a game. Incompetence is what we call it. Which ends me with Mauga. Terrible character design. By the way, they buffed because he was performing below 50% at the start of Season 9. And they buffed him so much that he was so OP that they had to nerf him after 3 days. And me, as a shit low top 500 player, could figure out that it's a terrible change. They say, I mean, I'm excited to play Venture, don't get me wrong. I'm excited for Venture in Season 10. I'm excited to playtest a new map type, Clash. That's cool. And maybe the ball meta is going to be fun for a week. But I feel like it's just going to be everyone running into you. You're going to die to Sombra, unkillable Sombra Tracers and Ball. And I don't think this meta is going to be fun at all. If my entire prediction of Ball being the new meta is wrong, we are just going to have what we just had in Season 9. The exact same thing, where it's Orisa, still Lucio, still Moira, still Kiriko, and then still Tracer and Soldierin. Until next time, YouTube frogs.